So, before we get into an incredible busy Saturday night of MLS action, I am going to quickly do the review in terms of the two games that happened in the afternoon, and I kind of want to do it now that I do have a mini 15-minute break before those busy games. It's going to be starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and it will also kind of leave a little bit low off of what I would have to do a 10 game review tomorrow, and especially probably tomorrow evening, because it looks like I once again have a full shift tomorrow on Sunday. So let us begin with the first game between Minnesota versus Sporting KC. And speaking of full shift and working, I was working during when this game was on, so I actually didn't watch this game, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't watch this one and instead watched the condensed highlights, because if I would have watched this game in person, I would have dropped a ton of F-bombs in this game. I mean, this is another game where I feel like Minnesota clearly should have won, and this is also the second game in a row where they were up 10 men for the majority of this game. And although in this one they definitely done a much better job in terms of creating chances, unlike what happened in the game against the Quakes, where it was pretty disgraceful of how they were up a man and yet they didn't really create a lot of chances. At the end of the day, you can create as much chance as you want, but if you don't put the ball into the back of the net, that's what's gonna be the frustrating part. And when I look at some of the chances that the Loons has in this game, there was just a couple ones I'm just thinking, how in the world did that not being in the back of the net? And that's also been kind of my expression with this team a lot of time this season, where it pains me to see this team miss so many golden opportunity, and that if they even can bury like half of those opportunities this season, they would have been in a much better position that they're currently in the standings in the Western Conference. But in the first half, 9 minutes into this game, it was actually SKC, the one that actually started out the better side, as Miller had to deny Kinda from 19 yards out. And again, it was another slow start for the Loons. That's also one thing that's been common with this team, where they tend to, at times, not get off to a great start. And it was one of those again, where they were off to a slow start, wasn't creating a lot of chances and letting their opposition really kind of take control early of this game. But that slow start kind of changed in the 23rd minute, when, as I mentioned, they, of course, were once again able to be up a man for the remaining of the game early in this one, as it's Remy Walter, the one that gets a straight red card. And originally I thought that this was maybe a denial of goal score opportunity, but then I realized, oh wait, that happened in their own half, so you can't have a denial of goal score opportunity. But this was more kind of a studs up challenge that Walter put on Reynoso. And again, this is the second week in a row where Minnesota had their opposition decide to put a studs up challenge, and it's great to see that both time they actually got the decision right, and they were able to be rewarded with their opponent getting sent off and being up a man for the remaining of the game. But that being said, that kind of effect didn't really take into this game, as I thought SKC was still looking for it, and even after they were a man down. That all changed in the 30th minute when Melia absolutely robbed Finley from 4 yards out. And while that was a great save from Tim Melia, Finley should have scored that one. And that is something that I'm going to talk a lot about throughout this video, where there was tons of chances where the Loons clearly should have put it away. And one of them came in the 37th minute when Hanu flicked it wide from wide range. Hanu had another tough game in this one, and again, my concern continues with him and the lack of goal scoring that he is going through right now. But I also kind of wrote the Loons finally started to capitalize being a man up and started to create some chances, but we do head to halftime 0-0 between both of these teams. And in the second half, Reynoso struck the post from 19 yards out. It's been that kind of season for Reynoso, where he just cannot buy a goal so far this year. Before Melia denied Hanu from close range in the 51st minute, the Loons was pressing to try to get the opener. And then in the 62nd minute, there was definitely a lot of concern if you're an SKC fan, seeing that Polito was gingerly being subbed off of what looks like a knee injury. And I talk about how Polito is so important to this SKC team. That injury may look like he might be on the IR for a bit. And this has been the problem for Alan Polito ever since he's come to SKC, where he has not been consistently be able to be in the starting 11, because he's either been end up on the IR, and or because of international duty. And if you're SKC, that's just kind of frustrating because you know that he is not only your most important player, but he's the guy that I think could be the spark for this team to be an MLS Cup contender and can really chase down some of the best team in the Western Conference, that is the Seattle Sounders. And now it seems like he's going to might be out for a couple of weeks, or even worse, a couple of months, depending on what kind of knee injury that he have suffered. But in the 64th minute, Kyrie Shelton had probably the best opportunity ever since SKC were down a man, after he missed an absolute setter from 6 yards out. Like, he was literally all alone there. I thought he would put that one into the back of the net and to really deflate the Loons there, but fortunately for Minnesota case, he missed a very, very big opportunity for SKC to go up 1-0. Before, in the 66th minute, Dibasi puts it high from long range, and then Melia absolutely robbed Agudelo, who went through on goal. And again, Agudelo, one-on-one with the goalkeeper. I feel like he clearly should have scored that. I mean, it was a great save from Tim Melia, and Tim Melia is definitely one of the best goalkeeper in the league in terms of one-on-one situation, but that's one that I think Agudelo clearly should have scored, and that should have been the opening goal of this game. And in the 78th minute, Metanier had a chance to give the Loons the opener of this game, but he hits it wide. Before, in the 86th minute, Boxo basically fires it wide from 6 yards out. And again, I know Michael Boxo is not known to score goals, but in that chance that he has where he was open in the box from 6 yards out, yeah, he has to bury that one. And that also kind of where I just basically just wrote the Loons is not scoring today, and that miss just basically summarized this team performance, where despite creating some glorious opportunity to put the ball into the back net, they're unable to do so. And in the end, it ends in a scoreless draw between both of these teams. And the shots in this one, 23 shots compared to 11 that SKC had. 7 shots on goal compared to 5 that SKC had. 9 shots off target compared to 5 that SKC had. 7 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that SKC had. And possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that SKC had in this game. And, you know, as frustrated as I am with the Loons' performance in these last couple of games and the lack of clinical finishing, I'm kind of not surprised because, you know, ever since Robin Lod has been end up on the IR list and he's going to be there for another couple of weeks, I knew that this team was probably going to be in deep trouble, unless if there is going to be another guy on this team to step up to score the goals, because, you know, Robin Lod is really the only guy on this team that has been able to regularly put the ball into the back of the net. And if this team cannot figure out another player to score the goals for them, I'm really concerned about this team. Not just the fact that they might get into the top 4, but even making the playoffs. I mean, yes, I know they still have a 4-point lead or a 4-point lead above the red line right now, but you look at the teams below them that has a game in hand and will be playing later tonight. You know, if they do get wins later tonight, it will be as close as a 1-point lead that they have above the red line. And especially there are some teams behind them that have been relatively hot. You know, it doesn't take much for this team to go on a really bad slump, and especially going through a goal drought as they have been going through these last couple of games. And next thing you know, they're now once again find themselves below the red line. So yeah, we shall see whether or not eventually somebody is going to step up for this team to score the goals. But for SKC, you know, they'll take this draw. I mean, I know they did miss a big opportunity in this game, especially in the second half, which, you know, Kyrie Shelton is pretty much going to be joining Fontes as the latest player from SKC. To think, how in the world did they not bury a chance that could have won the game for them this week? But, you know, consider they were down a man for that long in this period and able to walk away with a 0-0 draw, they'll be pretty satisfied, especially with some of the chances that Minnesota has in this game. But now moving on into the game that I've just watched a couple of minutes ago is the rematch of the MLS Cup. And not only the fact that the Seattle Sounders were able to get revenge against the Columbus Crew, but they absolutely broke the hearts of the 20,000 that was in that stadium in Columbus. I mean, there's a reason why people say that the Seattle Sounders, you know, is a team that is one of the toughest team to defeat, and a team that you should never count them out. Not like you knew knew that this team, even when they were down late in this game, and even when Columbus thought that they got the winning goal in this game and get a massive 3 points to end their losing streak, Seattle basically just kind of laugh at them and say, yep, we're going to score a late goal and also score another late goal to completely flip the script and get a huge 3 points out of this one. Now, in the first half, Zarian did put it wide from long range in the 10th minute. I thought Columbus started out as the better team, but that good start quickly diminished because in the 12th minute, Ruidíaz had a chance to give the Sounders the lead, but he puts it wide from 20 yards out. Before 3 minutes later, Room was able to deny Yamar on the header, and the Sounders would really started to get into this game. But just as I wrote that, Columbus had an opportunity in the 19th minute as Abdul Salam puts it wide on a volley. But then on the other end, Room was able to deny Rodon from long range, and I also kind of thought that Columbus was being very sloppy in their own half. Like, they were just giving the ball away in their own half, and against the Sounders attack, that is the last thing you want to do, which is giving the ball away and let them have a short field to work with, because most of the time they're going to punish you when you decide to do that. They also mentioned that Columbus is 25-4-3 when they scored the first goal under Caleb Porter, but have only won 3 out of the 28 games when conceding the first goal. That record is now going to be 25-4-4 because of the fact that even though Columbus were able to score first in this game, this was one of the rare times that they weren't able to win or even get a point out of this game. But it also kind of is a good indictment that, for Caleb Porter team, it's very important for them to score first, because if they don't score first, most likely they're not going to get all 3 points. Now, Abdul Salam did put it wide on the volley again in the 31st minute before Mensah had a good look in the box to head it in, but he puts that one wide as we head to halftime, 0-0 between both of these teams. Now, in the second half, Ruidíaz puts a half-hearted shot that goes wide, but then the post denying João Paulo of a long-range effort. I mean, if there's one thing that I know about João Paulo is that he can definitely strike those incredible long-range effort. And also, if there's one thing I know about the Seattle Sounders, especially from that Cascadia derby a week ago, they can definitely score some bangers, and they almost scored one there in the 49th minute to take the lead. But there was no doubt the Sounders, as it is the case for most of this year, has looked lively in the second half. I mean, I think throughout this broadcast, I think Stu Holden keep mentioning the Sounders is a team that is kind of like a second half team, and yeah, in many ways that's the case. Like, so far this season, they have scored a lot of their goals in the second half, and in some way, if you are a team that have been a good second half team, you're usually the one that are having a good season and are near the top part of the Western Conference or even in the Eastern Conference, because if you're a good second half team, you know that you're going to score the goals to get all 3 points at the end of the game. Now, in the 50th minute, Ladero did fire one into the stands from 22 yards out before Etienne struck the post, but that wouldn't have counted even if he puts it in, because the flag went up for offside. And Columbus was started to once again look the better side and started to control possession, but this is also kind of when the game kind of gone into a bit of a stalemate, as neither team really kind of create any good chances, because neither of them were doing very well in the final third. But then in the 74th minute, Cleveland had to tip Santos' shot from 24 yards out, and that chance actually started to really rile up the crowd, and really you kind of had a sense that maybe the momentum was with Columbus and that maybe Columbus are going to get that crucial opening goal, and they did. In the 77th minute, it's Bradley Wright Phillips scoring his first goal for the Columbus Crew to give the Crew a 1-0 lead in a goal where at that point we thought that was the winning goal, because I thought this was maybe one of those games where one goal is going to be enough to get all 3 points for each of these teams. But as the time winds down, the Sounders was definitely pushed for a late equalizer, and they did get it in the 88th minute as Arriaga was able to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Not a great moment for Eloy Rome during that sequence, because while there was a dangerous ball coming into the box, I thought he clearly should have smothered that one. He didn't. He let that one through and he missed that, and Arriaga was able to be there to pounce in to score for the Sounders to tie the game up. And then 2 minutes later, it's the Dancing Bear, Will Broom, scored from Madronda to completely turn this game on its heads to give the Sounders a 2-1 lead. And I even wrote the 20,000 at Lower Dogcom Field was definitely in stunned silence while the 300 traveling supporters, which, you know, there were actually a lot of Sounders fans in this one, not only in the away section, but also in around the stadium. I mean, I can tell when Bruin actually scored the goal. I can even see a lot of Rave Green, or a lot of people wearing Rave Green was definitely celebrating, knowing the fact that the team has completely turned this game on its head. But yeah, I mean, this really stunned the crowd because, you know, this is a team that is not known to lose when they score the first goal, and here they are potentially on the verge of losing a game, despite the fact that it looked like they got the late winner in the 77th minute. Now, in the 90th minute, BWP did try to respond quickly for the Crew, but it goes wide. Before there was a huge shout of a penalty from the North Decker after Paulo brought down Diaz. I thought that was a good call from the referee because I feel like Diaz not only kind of embellished that a little bit, but that was kind of like a shoulder to shoulder challenge where I don't think it's worth a yell or worth a penalty. And if it was actually a penalty, I think that would have been a very soft penalty. But yeah, in the end, the Sounders were able to not only come from behind to get a 2-1 win, but come from behind late to get a 2-1 win to absolutely broke the hearts of the Crew fans in this one. As the shots in this one, 17 shots compared to 11 that Columbus had, 5 shots on goal compared to 2 that Columbus had, 7 shots off target compared to 7 that Columbus had, 6 shots compared to 2 that Columbus had, and possession-wise, 45% possession compared to 55% possession that the Sounders has in this game. And with the win that the Sounders had, and also SKC once again dropping points in the weekend's action, they extend their lead in terms of the top of the Western Conference, and it's safe to say that the Sounders are definitely back. I mean, remember how they were in that rough patch a couple of weeks ago? Yeah, they're starting to win again, and this is definitely bad news for all the team in the Western Conference. But for the Columbus Crew, you know, it's now 6 straight losses that they have suffered this season, which now match the longest losing run that this team has ever had in franchise history. And yeah, I mean, this is really starting to get away from the Columbus Crew, and this loss has to hurt the most out of all those losses that they suffered, because it looked like this was the game where hopes were started to maybe become from this Crew team to finally get a win and get themselves back on track. But instead, it's another loss, and now they have a huge game a week from now where they're going to be playing against FC Cincinnati. And depending on how Cincinnati played tonight, if Cincinnati is able to get a win, you know that it's going to be a very difficult task against their hated Ohio rival in the Hell is Real derby. But that being said, let me know in the comments below what do you think of both of these games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.